Okay, so we have few more topics today, that is vaccine for children and some more topics here. So let's go one by one. First is vaccine for children. It is related to GS paper 2, that is social justice. Here the subject expert committee that advises the Drugs Control General of India, that is DCGI, and it has recommended that it grant emergency use authorization of Covaxin among children aged 2 to 18 years of, as we don't have specific drugs yet for kids. Here how Covaxin for children differs from adult. So they have some points here to describe. First is that Covaxin will be rolled out for children in India are of the same product and will be presented as the adult vaccine. Okay, now this is based on the sources from the company that is named Hyderabad based Bharat Biotech, which makes the vaccine. Here the company that was approved to conduct trials among children's, and they have tested the adult version of Covaxin on 525 children, two doses differing 28 days. Now the interim data that are analyzed and studied and found to be safe among children. So with all such data, they have conducted a study on from which they have found out that it would be safe for kids. So now they have, DCGI has approved such. Why do children need separate vaccines? Because they have a different immune system. In old age, we might not be vulnerable to that disease, which are children very prone to. So here the experts opined find that children need their regimen of care and treatment, which also includes vaccination. It also necessary to calibrate vaccine for specific use in children, though most vaccines cater to them. And it should not be a case of downsizing the adult dosage for children. Now children have distinct development and psychological differences from adults. Their body works differently and changes as they grow from infancy towards adolescence and adulthood. So therefore, now WHO that mandates clinical trial for children to develop opt vaccines. Here what about vaccine requirement for children? Here Gavi, that is vaccine alliance between some of the countries. Here Gavi states that our children under the age of 18 from a large portion of population, that is nearly 32%. It is necessary to ensure protection and also to move towards the pandemic control. Here the protection is mandatory when the risk of disease is very high, though children are placed at a relatively low risk and account for the 1 in 9, that is SARS-CoV-2 infections, and constitute only 2% of hospitalization. So hospitalization is not much higher in case of kids. Here, therefore, it is very deeply ethical to conclude that children in COVID-19 vaccine trials and vaccinations program. So what lies ahead? So the DCGI will have to approve the vaccine before it can be administered to children, and it has to decide about the safety and immunogenicity data among the 500 odd cohort suffice for EUA. We have another topic, that is Queen Huang Okay, that is history of the world and India. It is related to the history part. Let's go what the article says. Here Delhi based Korean Center Cultural and Indian Council of Cultural Relations here showcased a musical depicting the story of the Queen at auditorium. Here Queen Hua Huang Okay is believed to have had Indian roots. Okay, so the beautification exercise is underway and the spruced up space will be known as the Queen Hua Huang Okay Memorial Park. So who was the Queen Hua Huang Okay? That is, Hu Huang Okay was a Korean queen. It is believed to have been born Princess Suritratna of Ayodhya, daughter of King Padmasen and Indumati. Here Padmasen that ruled the ancient kingdom of Kaushala, a region that extended from present-day UP to Odisha. So Padma Sen ruled, and Kaushala, that is extended from UP to Orissa, be known in the ancient times it is Kausala. Okay, then her story is describing a Samgyok Yogas, that is memorabilia of three kingdoms. It is 13th century's collection of legends, folk tales and history of Korea's three kingdom, Goryeo, BKG and Silla. Now the princess at the age of 16 in 48 BC that traveled to Korea from the ancient land of Ayutthaya. Here she married to Kim Soro, founder and king of Gyeongwon Gaya in southeastern Korea. Here she traveled by boat along with an entourage sent by her father, and it's said to have had a dream about her marrying Suro. Now she became the first queen of the Gyeongwon Gaya, that believed to be located around the modern day, that is Gimhae city in southern Gyeongsang province. What is her legacy? So it is more than 6 million present day. Koreans trace their lineage to Heo Hwang. Okay, 6 million. Okay, so they belong to clans such as Jim Ha, Kim Hyok. Now the queen had asked the king that two of their sons be given her maiden name and Lee. Here, her direct descendants that include Kim Yong-ok, wife of former South Korean President Lee Myung-bak, that is King Kim Suro, and Queen Heo Hwang-ok, that is birthed the Karak dynasty. Now their descendants include former South Korean President Kim Dae-jung and former Prime Minister Kim Jong-pil. Here, many Koreans have visited Ayodhya, that is to pay homage to the Queen's ancestral home. Two tombs that believed to be of Kim Suro and Queen Hyung Hwang-ok are maintained as a memorial park in Gimhae in South Korea. Now the pagoda is placed next to the tomb, and it is believed to brought from India to calm the ocean gods. Now, the Queen has a part of Korean's popular culture of years, and many plays and musicals based on her. So, which led to setting up the memorial park in Ayodhya. So, here now the India and South Korea that has signed an agreement to develop Ayodhya and Gimhae as sister cities in 2000. Now the memorial space was unveiled in 2001. A proposal was sent by a South Korean delegation to refurbish the existing memorial in 2016. Now the Prime Minister and South Korean President that signed an MOU for developing the memorial. Here, South Korean First Lady attended the inauguration for the beautification work in 2018. So what was our memorial comprise? Here the memorial now comprise Queen and King pavilions with their bust in place and a pond of to represent Princess Suriratna's journey. Now the princess that had taken a golden egg to Korea, and the park include an egg made of granite, as it was believed by legend. How much of her Indian connection is established as fact? Here, the story has helped boost the relationship between India and South Korea. There are many versions of the same story and debates about her India relation. Here, Samyang Yosa talked about the queen from a distant land named Ayutthaya, and popular culture considers it Ayodhya. Now, the Indian document or scripture that does not possess any record of her. Okay, so Indian does not have any record, but it is very much connection it has from Ayodhya. So we have another topic, that is Central Asian outreach, that is related to GS paper 2, and it is related to international relation. So it is basically that in our central government basically wants to go for basically India wants to establish good relation with Central Asia. So let's go with the topic. Here, the development in Afghanistan that have catalyzed new geostrategic and geoeconomics concern for the region. Now, the evolving situation has also thrown up renewed challenges for India's original and bilateral ties with Central Asia and Caucasus. Now, background here is that the External Affairs Minister was in the Central Asian region, and it was a third visit within 4 months. Now, the ministry that has extended a credit line of 200 million US dollars for the support of the development projects in Kyrgyzstan, it has also signed a memorandum of understanding on high impact community development project. The ministry that has admonished China's methods in the Belt and Road Initiative promotion. Here, the ministry has also confronted Pakistan for its supports towards cross-border terrorism. What are the challenges that are included in this case? Now, the Taliban that has re-established its supremacy over the Afghanistan and also exposed the weakness of coalitions. Now, the coalitions such as SCO that was created in the response to the threats or terrorism that sprang from Afghanistan. Now, the SCO that is being used by most member countries for their own regional geostrategic and security interest, it increases the trust deficit and divergence within the forum. Now, the SCO that have failed to collectively respond to the Afghanistan crisis, the rise in the geostrategic and security concerns that related to the PRI's China-Pakistan economic corridor mounts challenge to India. It also led to the violation of India's sovereignty. What are the measures that we have taken? Here, the first external minister that is a visit to Armenia that had taken place recently. So, our external minister has visited to Armenia, and India and Armenia that agreed to enhance trade and cultural exchange to boost bilateral relations. India has also supported efforts for a peaceful solution to the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia under the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe's Minsk group. Now, India reset its ties with the strategic critical region after the breakup of the Soviet Union, and India provides financial aid to the region and also established diplomatic relations. It also signed the Strategic Partnership Agreement with Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan to stimulate defense cooperation and deepen trade relations. Here, India that connect Central Asia's policy also aimed at furthering India's political, economic, historical and cultural connections with the region. Now, India that has signed MOUs with Iran in 2015, that is to develop the Chabahar port in Sistan Balochistan province that was at the doldrums from 2003. So what are the way forward here? Way forward here in this case, that is Central Asia that become the link that placed Eurasia and New Delhi zones of interest. Now, the Central Asian countries are also keen to have India as a partner, as they have sought to diversify their strategic ties. They also admitted India into the Ashgabat Agreement, which facilitate trade connectivity, and also India should make use of it. Thank you. Okay, now we have the bubbles of trust. So what are the bubbles of trust and climate targets? Bubbles of trust, it is related to international relations. That approach offers between the middle path between the extremes of technological sovereignty and laissez-faire globalization. Here, what are the backgrounds? That is a symmetry globalization that favors China, that allows Beijing to attain power. Now, the China that uses the power to undermine liberal democratic value around the world. Now, the Chinese market that was never open for foreign companies in the way foreign markets are to Chinese firms. So this is true in the information and communication technology sector. Now, the Chinese firms that rode on the globalization bandwagon to secure significant market shares in the open economies. Chinese precedent that formally requires Chinese firms to follow the political agenda of Chinese Communist Party Now the countries that are witnessing a global threat, global retreat from the free movement of goods, services, capital, people, and ideas. So it should be viewed as a skewed pattern over the past 4 decades. So what all are the challenges that are included here that are quad geopolitical and security agenda that stand on tenuous foundations without the economic program? Now, the popular backlash against China is pushing Quad governments towards policy of self-reliance. The pursuit of technological sovereignty is inherently self-defeating. No single country can replicate the combined genius of critical and emerging technologies of the world. Now, the Quad that cannot fulfill its strategic ambitions merely by holding a defensive line against authoritarian power. What all are the opportunities that we have? Yeah. Now, the Quad that countries that are uniquely placed to envelop their economics inside bubbles of trust with the technology sector. Now, the US is a global leader in intellectual property and Japan in high value manufacturing, respectively. So, Australia is advanced niche such as quantum computing and cybersecurity, India in human capital. So, the configuration of values, interests, and complementary capabilities offers unrivaled opportunities. Now, the idea of bubble of trust that offers a cautious middle path between the extremes of technological sovereignty and laissez faire globalization. Now, we have some countermeasures to be taken here. Now, the Quad countries, such as Australia, Japan, India, US, they have an opportunity to avoid engagement with China. It should not be seen through the misleading prism of free trade and globalization. Now, the root of every member's prosperity and power that lies in the international trade. It is to their advantage, that is to create new forms of economic corporation that consist with their geopolitical interest. So what all are the way forward here? Now the Quad, that is a critical emerging technology working group, is well placed, that is to develop the necessary bubble of trust, that framework that has avoided the long and complex negotiations typical of trade agreements, that is a working group that must seek to strengthen geopolitical convergence, and it should not increase that faith in each member state, that is a judicial system. Now the Quad should not allow differences of approaches in privacy. हाँ जी, आई